Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honey Bee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. 31 Days of the Dead. Day 3. Honeybee is with me today, and we're talking about the 1992 New Zealand zombie comedy splatter film Braindead, also known as Dead Alive. It was released as Dead Alive in the States here because there was another movie called Braindead from about the same time. So for a long time, this movie was not available, but now it's on Prime, but not streaming free on Prime. You got to buy it or rent it, which I highly recommend you do. I believe it will be listed as Dead Alive on there because Braindead is also on there to rent or buy. The other Braindead.
Oh, shit.
Anywho, this, well, before I say anything, Honeybee, what are your thoughts on Dead Alive?
So when you suggested this movie, or like you said you wanted me to do this movie with you, I was like, hell yeah, I'm excited. A zombie movie I haven't seen. But then as I started watching it, it all came rushing back to me that I have seen this movie, and I was very young, and I think that one of my...
young?
I think that my mom maybe thought I would think it was funny, but it actually freaked me the fuck out. So I think I had just blocked it out because, like, as soon as it starts and we see, like, Lionel, I was like, oh my God. Like, it started, like, rushing back to me, like, holy shit, I have seen this movie. And something that I really remembered was her cheek, like the mom's cheek kind of slicing and, like, falling open. Yep. And I just remember watching this movie and just being like, it was a little bit too much for me. I think I was just a little bit too young. So I didn't get all the way through it as a kid, but I did see like the beginning of it. And I vividly remembered it like I knew things that were going to happen, things that were coming up. So it was really, I probably got all the way to like the baby happening when I was a kid, but I did not know as a kid that the zombies were boning. I did not realize that, so I had to have been pretty young. And yeah, as soon as I started watching it, like it was like flooding back to me, and I was like remembering things, and I knew things that were coming up. So holy shit, this movie is funny and just so wacky, and watching it now, absolutely loved watching it. But yeah, I think the first time around I was just a little bit too little to like understand it. It was a little too real for me as a kid, so. Here's
looking at you, kid. Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Use the Force, Luke. You had me at hello. There are many memorable, quotable lines in the history of cinema, but this movie contains the single greatest line ever spoken on the silver screen, which is this.
Oh my God.
I kick ass for the Lord. I love this movie. This is my favorite zombie movie, my favorite horror movie. I describe it as a symphony of blood.
It definitely is that.
When From Dusk Till Dawn came out, somebody described it as the bloodiest horror movie ever made, and I said, fuck you, you don't know what you're talking about. Go watch Dead Alive, which that movie rips off to an extent and rips off a moment from... This is directed by Peter Jackson, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that Peter Jackson. The movie he made before this, one of the movies he made before this, Bad Taste, From Dusk Till Dawn rips off a bit from Bad Taste, where basically somebody sticks a gun through another person and uses them as a shield as they fire through them.
So badass.
They stole that from Dusk Till Dawn, stole that from Bad Taste. This was Peter Jackson's, I think, third film. I'm going to check that. And at the time, his most expensive film, with a budget of $3 million. It would not remain his most expensive film, as we all know. Before this, he did the thing I said, Bad Taste and Meet the Feebles, which is a thing of its own. Meet the Feebles is like the Muppets, but if they were all on cocaine and... Well, not all of them, but it's a very adult version of the Muppets. It is a puppet movie, and this young, like kind of like Scooter or Robin from the Muppets, it's this young guy's first day. He's like, oh, I'm going to meet the Feebles. I'm going to work on the Feebles. And then discovers that they're, it's like they're all Hollywood actors who have drug problems and sex addiction and
Oh my God.
It's trying to be this sort of edgy, realistic approach to the, what if the Muppets all had the sort of backstage problems that you get in real.
I need to see this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if that's currently available. I used to own it on VHS. So, Dead Alive. I was living in New York when this came out. I remember seeing a poster at a theater, but I didn't see it at the theater. I just thought, well, that's interesting. Folks, you got to look at this poster. It's the one, Honeybee, with the woman's face and being pulled. Her mouth is being pulled to the side, and the baby's looking through it.
I love it. Oh, I love that so much.
I saw this poster, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. I didn't see it in the theater, but then when I saw the videotape, in the store later, I was like, oh, it's that thing I didn't get to see, and I bought it, and I was like, this is amazing.
So amazing.
Okay, so folks, usually on these 31 Days of Horror, we try to keep it a little shorter because I got so many of them to do, so we're not going to walk through the whole plot like we normally do. But, I want to talk about... I'm going to give you a broad overview. It starts on Skull Island.
Which is why I thought you wanted me to watch it. I was like, shit, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted you to watch it because it's...
Skull Island.
I just wanted you to watch it because it's glorious. I had forgotten that it started on Skull Island. I knew it started with this Sumatran... I knew this Sumatran rat monkey was the cause, but I don't remember that it was actually from Skull Island in Sumatra. The Sumatran rat monkey is a Sherlock Holmes reference. It's an untold case of Sherlock Holmes. There's times throughout the original stories, the actual Sherlock Holmes stories, where one of either Holmes or Watson will make mention of some other case. And sometimes it's a story that's already been written. Sometimes it's one that Doyle would then go on to write later. And sometimes it's one that we never find out what the thing was. And most of those, some other person has come along afterwards and written a thing about it, filled in that missing story. But Holmes says something about, it was like that time with the giant rat of Sumatra, and then doesn't explain what it was, what the incident with the giant rat of Sumatra was. So this Sumatran rat monkey is a reference to that, which I love. And Skull Island, of course, a reference to Kong. So I just love that shit. But they're on Skull Island, and they've caught these a white guy and some locals are capturing this thing. And the monkey bites the white guy, and the locals immediately cut his arm off where he's been bitten, which he doesn't understand because they know. And then they see that his neck has been bitten, so they cut his head off. And then they go ahead and sell the monkey, the rat monkey, to the zoo. They take it to the airport and give it to somebody and get their money and go, and then it gets taken to the zoo in New Zealand. This movie takes place in New Zealand in...
Okay, well, I have to know.
No, sorry. No, not Melbourne.
I have
Wellington.
to know
Sorry. Melbourne's
how
in
you
Australia.
feel about... Sorry.
Go ahead.
About Paquita. Visually.
Paquita.
'Cause I feel like this woman is just like... I just feel like she's kind of your type. Does that mean? Is that rude to say? Like, visually, I feel like you have a little bit of a type, and I feel I don't. Well,
okay, she's nice. She's not the. I mean, she's not the. I don't feel that I do have a type, in that I find lots of different types attractive: short, tall, dark, light, red hair, blonde hair, whatever. But yes, Paquita, Spanish woman living in Wellington, New Zealand, with her Spanish family. She's cute. She's cute. She's not like a super duper hot Hollywood actress type. She's more like a real person. And so is our guy, Lionel. He's a nice looking guy, but he's not
a little too attractive. Yeah, I felt like he was a little too attractive for his character.
He thought he should have been dorkier.
Yeah,
but he's a nice looking guy, but he's not super duper Hollywood handsome guy. But I was looking up Paquita because I was like, I wonder what else she's done, and fairly recent. She's still working. She's done a lot of Spanish language stuff. Because I was curious, I was like, does she just happen to live? I have no idea what the Spanish population in New Zealand is. But it's just sort of an interesting choice. Oh, this movie, by the way, takes place in 1957, which is not super obvious unless you're really kind of paying attention, because I think it just totally missed the first time I watched this that it was actually a period piece. But when you look, you're like, oh yeah, okay, that the uncle has a kind of greaser thing going on with his hair, and the kids are all dressed in 50s clothes, and they're listening to record albums, not CDs. The CDs were a thing by this point, by the time this movie was made. They're not listening to cassette tapes or anything, or CDs. They're listening to record albums. And yeah, the cars are a classic style of car, but they just don't, I don't know, they don't focus on it a whole lot. They don't talk about it. It can kind of escape you that this is taking place in the 50s. I mean, did you catch that? Did you get that it was in the 50s?
I think I did, but I didn't. Like, I definitely noticed the clothing, and then kind of the cars and the colors, the colors of things, how they the pastel. You know what I mean? But I don't think that I thought oh, this is from the 50s. I just accepted oh, this is from a long time ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We didn't mention the cast, actually. Oh, so the reason I mentioned Diana Peñalver, who plays Paquita, she played in a much more recent movie. She plays another character called Paquita, which doesn't seem like a common name to me. So I'm curious if whoever wrote that purposely named the character Paquita because they knew she would be playing it. I'm gonna watch this movie now when I get the chance.
Yeah, let me know.
I should mention the cast because I think it's also a horror movie. Timothy Balme is Lionel Cosgrove. Diana Peñalver is Paquita Maria Sanchez. Elizabeth Moody is Vera Cosgrove, but Elizabeth Brimmelcombe is the zombie Vera. Ian Watkins as Uncle Les. Brenda Kendall as Nurse McTavish. Stuart Devine as Father Magruder, and Stephen Pappas as Zombie Magruder. Jed Brophy as Void. Murray Keane as Scrote. Glennis Leavestam as Nora Matheson. Lewis Rowe as Albert Matheson. Tina Regtine as Mandy. Elizabeth Mullane as Rita. Harry Sinclair as Roger. Davina Whitehouse as Paquita's grandmother. That doesn't sound like a Spanish name. Famularo as Paquita's father. Daniel Sabick as Baby Selwyn, as the body of Baby Selwyn. And Vicky Walters as the voice of Baby Selwyn. Bill Ralston as Stuart McAden, Brian Sargent as Vet, Forrest J. Ackerman as 40, a tourist at the zoo with Monster Filmland magazine. Okay. Peter Veer Jones as Undertaker, Titch Rowney as Barry, Tony Hills as Zookeeper, and Peter Jackson doing a cameo as the Undertaker's assistant. Forrest J. Ackerman was a magazine editor and science fiction writer. That's why it jumped out at me. Of course, he edited the magazine Monsters of Filmland, co-created Vampirella, and what are other magazines? I thought he also did... he was a literary agent. You know, he's just, if you're into science fiction like me, especially old shit, you've heard that name. So, was he living in New Zealand? I don't know how he ended up in this movie. I'm not going to take the time to find that out right now. Let's talk about the type of zombies we're dealing with in this movie.
Okay.
So the outbreak happens because the mother gets bitten by the rat monkey. So there's both like an infection.
Is terrible.
Yes, turns out she's also a murderer. We have this weird combination of like virus and magic going on in this movie. In fact, Paquita and Lionel are together because Paquita works in a little shop where Lionel gets groceries, and she doesn't care for him until her grandmother does a tarot reading because she likes, is he the milkman?
No, the meat man.
There you go. Grandma, she's like, you like that guy, let me do a tarot reading. And the tarot reading tells her that she's going to be with somebody else who is Lionel. And she doesn't care for him and ignores him, and she'll know him by the symbol, and then Lionel spills some stuff that forms the symbol. And so from that moment on, she just is in 100% because Grandma did a tarot reading, therefore this is the man for me. And everything I didn't like about him before is now a positive. Which is, I mean, yeah, the same, you know, I don't know. The thing is, when you like somebody, you downplay their negative qualities and you amplify their positive qualities. And when you don't like them, you do the reverse. So the person themselves hasn't changed at all. It just depends on whether you like them or not. So now she's just looking at him through a different lens. And I was trying to talk about the kind of zombies, but I'm just establishing that there's this sort of mystic shit going on very early with the tarot reading. And then at some point, the grandma gives Lionel this medallion to protect him. But somebody at some point mentions that the natives of Sumatra or of Skull Island used these monkeys in their voodoo rituals. It's just kind of mentioned. Yeah. So it seems like at some point somebody has done some magic to this rat monkey. It's not just that it's infected with it's not just infected with a disease, but it's infected with a dark magic disease. But the end result is that we get these zombies that are taken to the extreme, in that every individual cell of them come back to life and continues to live. So cutting the head off and destroying the brain are not going to do any good, because whatever's left is just going to keep flopping around and trying to kill you. If you cut the arm off, the arm will try to kill you. If you tear the organs out, the organs will assemble into a little creature and try to kill you.
Oh, it is so glorious.
So, which means that to destroy these things, you've got to just chop them into tiny little useless pieces and set them on fire, which is beautiful. We do also get somebody pissing on a grave. We get the kung fu priest who kicks ass for the Lord.
We get the fucking zombies.
But the priest gets bitten. So Lionel's mother gets bitten and starts getting sick, and Lionel's trying to take care of her. But at some point, she gets so sick that she turns into a zombie, or she dies and comes back to life as a zombie. It's the transition is a little, I don't know. It happens quicker with some people than with others.
I remember this part, like, this so vividly as a kid, like, her getting sick and, like, being oozy, like, her, like, wounds oozing and, like, her ear falling off, like, oh, gosh. Yeah. I completely had blocked all of this out of my mind so hardcore, and then watching it today, I'm like, oh my god! I just remember being so genuinely freaked out.
But he tries to keep her under control by tranquilizing her, but then she bites the nurse, and so then he's got to keep the nurse under control. And then at some point, it becomes obvious that his mother's died, so they have a funeral and she gets buried. But then he knows that she's not really dead, so he's goes to the graveyard.
He just keeps digging her up, bringing her out.
And she, well, no, I think she just breaks her way out. I don't know why he's going. Maybe he's going to try to finish her off.
He has a shovel. Like, he is digging her up whenever the, like, guys in the graveyard, like, come up and are like, hey, what are you doing, you little sicko?
Yeah, the greasers. Yeah. That's Void is the head of the little greaser gang. So this is how the priest ends up getting bitten. So he ends up with his mother, the nurse, the priest, and the greaser at home trying to feed them and tranquilize them. Because they'll eat porridge and stuff, but he puts the drugs in But at some point, the priest and the nurse have sex, and this is where more of the magic kind of comes in, because they have their union produces fruit. They have a baby, like instantly, which becomes a toddler very quickly. So this somehow the magic.
Why
I don't know.
The hell does he
just
take? Why? What was that?
I don't know. I don't know why he does that. I'm not sure. He puts the baby in a stroller, but then puts like chicken wire or barbed wire or something around the stroller so the baby can't get out. But of course the baby does get out. I think maybe he's just sort of in some kind of denial about these are zombies. He thinks they're all just sick or something. But Paquita keeps trying to date him. Oh, but Mom gets bit because she follows him and Paquita on their date to the zoo. She's spying on him. And I think there's an element of, apart from her being a super controlling bitch, I think there's also a racist element. She doesn't want him dating any woman, but she certainly doesn't want him dating that Spanish woman. But that's how she gets bit. Anyway, it all just goes to his uncle tries to shows up at the funeral and wants his share. He thinks he has something coming to him. And then ends up throwing a party at the house. So of course, somebody opens the door, somebody breaks the lock on the room where he's keeping the zombies, and all hell breaks loose.
And man, does it ever. This is the bloodiest, goriest. Yeah. There are so many deaths that were just like so fucking cool. One that really comes to mind, besides like putting the hand through the face and but like another one is like the light bulb, the girl with the light bulb.
Yeah. Folks, if you haven't seen this movie,
cool.
If you haven't seen this movie yet, stop listening now and go watch this movie, because I'm about to discuss Chekhov's lawnmower. We have a Chekhov's lawnmower in this movie. We established early in the movie that there's a lawnmower and Lionel's using it, and it breaks, it stops working and he flips it over, and we see, in case you don't know how a lawnmower works, we see the big blade underneath the lawnmower. And at some point during this just huge battle with all of these zombies, Lionel gets flung out a window while Paquita and this other woman who's not quite a zombie, a party goer who seems to know Paquita.
Yeah, because she's Rita. She's the other Spanish girl in New Zealand.
Is she? She didn't have an accent, but
no, but she's Rita.
There's white people named Rita. Anyway, he comes bursting back in the door with the lawnmower strapped around his neck and held up in front of him, and proceeds to puree the zombie horde with the lawnmower, spreading blood everywhere. But then there's a boss battle with his mother, who has mutated and grown down in the basement. So that the lawnmower is not the climax. It's just the semi-climax before the final boss battle. But at some time during this whole thing, Lionel's father had drowned. Lionel believes that his father drowned trying to save him when he was a small boy. But at some point when he's up in the attic, he stumbles across some photographs of his father with somebody else, with some other woman, and starts having some suppressed memories start coming back. And he remembers that his mother found his father with someone else and drowned them both in the bathtub, and has been lying to him his entire life.
Ouch.
So, and we get this very Freudian thing of so when mom comes back all mutated, she's giant and naked because, of course, she's too big for, she's torn through her clothes as she grew off camera. And we get this very Freudian thing where her stomach opens up and she tries to take him back into the womb and does, but then he manages to claw his way out. The whole thing ends with him and Paquita escaping via the roof and the house burning down. And there's also some very bloody kisses between them.
Several times. Times.
I think should have resulted in them becoming infected with the virus, but does not.
It doesn't. There's a few times even before that where blood splurts into one of their mouths or both of their mouths at different points, and I was like, uh-oh. Or at the beginning of the movie when the mom's owie oozes into that guy's custard and he takes a bite. Yeah. I was like, oh, he's going to be a zombie now. Nope, never changes. He doesn't become a zombie. So you have to specifically be bitten for whatever reason.
Yeah. That's how it works. It's it's in the saliva, not in the blood, I guess. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's folks, watch Dead Alive. I mean, if you care for gore, as I said, it is a symphony of gore. Yeah. If you're queasy, if you don't like over the top bloody violence, then don't watch it. But if you appreciate such things, it does not get any better than this. Honeybee, how many brains are you going to rate Dead Alive, a.k.a. Braindead?
I am going to rate Dead Alive, a.k.a. Braindead, 5 brains.
Absolutely. I give it 5 as well. As I said, my favorite. I was because of this movie, I was a Peter Jackson fan, and then I sought out the 2 he had made before this. And then, I'm like, Peter Jackson's making Lord of the Rings? Holy fucking shit. I mean, by that time, he had done King Kong, The Frighteners. Have you ever seen Heavenly Creatures? It's from 94. And my brother Delano had gone to see it in the movie theater. I saw it later on TV. And it's not at all this kind of a movie. It's based on a true story about a couple of young girls who have a lesbian relationship and end up killing their parents or one of their parents. But it's a little more, because they try to keep them apart. Somebody murders somebody, and it's based on a true story. It's a period drama and a crime psychological thriller, romance, and fantasy, according to Wikipedia here. Anyway, he goes to see this movie that seems like it's going to be sort of an artsy thriller kind of thing. And when the credits start, it said Wingnut Productions. And he just started laughing because he knew that was Peter Jackson's company, that was the same company that made Braindead and A Bad Taste. But it's a little more. There's some gory, during the murder in the movie. There's some blood. But it's generally sort of a more high class film. But there's also this fantasy element because these two girls would write these fantasy stories together, and they create this little fantasy world. And so in the film, we see some glimpses of that, and you're like, this might be the movie that got him the Lord of the Rings. You can see the beginnings of that in Heavenly Creatures. But yeah, I think people who only know him from Kong and Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit would not expect this this movie.
Definitely not.
He also did the
Definitely
Frighteners.
wouldn't.
We did Frighteners. He did the Frighteners in '96, which is my favorite ghost-based horror movie, and we covered that in a previous 31 Days of Horror. So go back and listen.
So
to that.
listen to it.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today.
Wait. I will say, have you ever seen Ed and His Dead Mother?
No, is that that's the title?
Yeah, it's called Ed and His Dead Mother. It's very. It's not as scary as this movie for my little kid brain, but it was another movie that I watched like shortly after this, and it has like similar storyline with the whole mother fucked up toxic mom-son relationship, and then the zombie aspect of like his mom is a zombie and he's trying to like take care of her anyway. And for some reason I saw these movies very short within like close to each other, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is going on? I have not watched that movie as an adult, but I probably won't because it really freaked me out as well.
I just checked, and that movie's from '93, and this one's from '92. So yeah, they came out right around the same time, and it is on YouTube. So I will be watching that later. Hey, maybe I still had one spot open on this list of movies. Maybe if I like
there
it
you go. Yeah. If you like it, let me know. I'll watch it for you and for the show. For all of you out there, I'll watch it. But it freaked me out. And I remember being afraid of that movie, but I had forgotten about both movies until I started watching this movie and started remembering it. And I'm like, my God. And then I remembered that movie and I was like, my God, this is a part of my brain that I don't know if I wanted to unlock today.
Well, I appreciate you reliving your trauma for the show.
No, this movie was fucking fantastic. I loved every second of it.
All right, folks, join us again tomorrow for another in our 31 Days of the Dead. Thanks for being here. Until next time, I've been Precious D.
And I've been Honey Bee.
Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements.
And please don't misuse science.
We won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go. You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on your podcasting platform of choice. You can leave us a message and find links to all our things at mmftg.com.